Hi, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Asperillo.ai. And with me today is Erika Alessandrini. And we're going to be talking about her brilliant book, Maybe It's Me, Looking Inward to Create Real Change Through Conscious Choices. Ooh. So Erika, thanks so much. I really love the book. And as we were talking about before we went live, it's really easy to read because you've got loads of questions and diagrams and tables and quotes and stuff like that. First and foremost, where can people find you?
Thank you for having me. If people want to find me, two places I think I would direct them. One, if the book is of interest to you, maybeitsmebook.com is where you'll find all kinds of information, the book, workbooks, book club, kit, guides, all kinds of fun stuff. And you can find me at aileron.org. We're a nonprofit out of Dayton, Ohio.
Excellent. So, as I said, really love the book. What was the inspiration behind it?
So I'm someone who's had a pretty successful life, career, family, all the things. And like a lot of people, I've faced obstacles, setbacks, bounced back, came back better. But achieving that life did come at a cost, one that I couldn't see a couple of times anyway, until it was too late. I had a practice marriage. I burned out in corporate.
That's a
Mhm.
practice marriage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had one of those as well. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So you get that.
I
Um,
understand that entirely. Yes.
okay. And honestly, I came close to losing even more before I finally walked away to build a different kind of success. And I wasn't sure how I was going to do it exactly, but I did. And now I'm helping other people do the same. So the book is what I've learned, practiced, perfected over the last 10 years. And then watching clients achieve things they never thought possible made this undeniable for me. And when you have something that powerful, you have to share it.
So let's get on to the questions, Erika. The core premise of your book is realizing maybe it's me is actually the best news we can get. But to a busy, stressed out leader that can initially sound like blame, how do you help people shift their perspective from seeing this as self blame to seeing it as the ultimate empowerment?
That's real. A number of readers have actually told me that the message of "Maybe It's Me" was heavy. It felt like one more thing to add to their overflowing plate. And asking you to look inward is not proposing blame of any kind. Blame doesn't help you manage outcomes or results, it's a strategy for managing your discomfort. So when you share ownership rather than fault, it moves you quickly toward what you can contribute, which is what people want. These are high performers. They want to create solutions. Blame leaves you waiting on someone else to act. And so I talk about taking 100% responsibility. And it doesn't erase anyone else's part in it, it just puts you in the driver's seat. And that, I believe, is agency and empowerment.
You spent over 23 years in executive leadership, particularly in the male dominated automotive aftermarket sector. What was your personal breaking point that forced you to look inward and realize that your old playbook of working harder was actually sabotaging you?
The work situation was a big factor, I'm not going to lie. The integration, the new structure, the new role, the new team, considerably more responsibility, being assigned a coach, being asked to take a 360, all of those things were factors. But the breaking point was really seeing the impact of my choices, that pushing harder, the behaviors that were so natural to me reflected back at me through my son. And I write about it in the book, but the short of it is that I'd left him waiting. He was at my parents' waiting for me to pick him up. And I told him I'd be right there right after I finished a work call. Well over an hour later, he came through the door. My dad ended up driving him home. And that night, he shared something important with me, and he'd been afraid to bring it up because of how I had been showing up to my life and to my people, the people I cared about,
Yep.
while under pressure, under stress, the things that we all face. And Tim, you can survive missing your monthly target or a quota, but you can't unhear your own kid being afraid to talk to you.
Yeah, you're very honest in the book about the impact. Um, uh, in your book, you outline 5 major self-sabotaging beliefs. For high achievers, one of the biggest is belief that overwork is the only way to succeed. How do we start separating our identity from our output?
Mm. I think we start by understanding that our identity is a collection of thoughts and beliefs about who we are, who we aren't, how we create value, how we want to be seen. It also includes all of our insecurities. So, when a big part of our identity is wrapped up in our capabilities, our strengths, our role, those sort of things, and any of those things are threatened in any way, that's what initiates what I call the pressure, fear, control, cost cycle. Because when we're under pressure, pressure to perform, all the pressures, and something threatens that, fear creeps in and
Yeah,
tells us to reach for control as a means for creating security. And then that control comes at a cost. So, knowing that, paired with the willingness to pause, is what helps you separate who you are from what you do. They're both important, but
yeah,
they just need to be seen as separate.
yeah. You make a really interesting distinction in the book between leading versus managing and helping versus enabling. What does enabling look like in a corporate setting, and how does a well meaning leader fall into that trap?
I think it looks similar in almost any setting, but in a corporate setting, managing looks like working with or alongside others and being directive, being part of the work. So it's additive to what's going on, but it has a ceiling. Leading looks like we're working through others, unlocking, amplifying potential. It's more of a multiplier, it's limitless. So in the book, 2 of the beliefs. So belief 3, I can do it better myself, right? Over responsibility. And
Yep,
belief 4 is I think I'm helping. So that's
yep,
over helping, right? Together they make what I call the hero trap in the book. And
yep,
those are the things that they burn you out, create dependency, and create helplessness on the part of others. So if you are questioning whether you're managing or leading, I would have you ask yourself, is what I'm about to do creating capacity in the business or dependency on me?
mm. You talk. I'm going to go back to the questions in a moment, but I thought it was worth breaking out and saying that in the book you talk about 5 different self sabotaging beliefs, which are: you believe you know what's right, you believe the end justifies the means, you believe you can do things better than others, you believe you're helping, and you believe it's temporary. I just wanted to so people actually understand what those are. Um,
Thank you.
Defensiveness is a major barrier to growth. When a leader feels criticized, their biological instinct is to protect themselves. How do you coach leaders to catch the automatic physical reaction and choose a conscious response instead?
You're right. It is exactly how we're created. We are designed for survival, and that means we're constantly scanning the environment for threats. And the work of making a conscious choice is knowing the difference between a physical and a psychological threat. A psychological threat starts in the mind and it travels to the body where we feel it. From there, we have to understand that we don't have to believe everything we think. The conscious choice framework helps you tease apart any story you're telling yourself so that you can operate more from reality, but also honor your felt experience of reality. So it comes down to choice and knowing that you have one, even when it doesn't feel like it.
Hmm. We're going to move on to that. Your book introduces the 7 conscious questions. One that immediately jumps out is, what is the whole truth, even if it's inconvenient? Why is it so hard for high performers to face the inconvenient truth and their lives about their lives or business?
Oof. Question 4 is a big question because it's asking you to do a number of things. First, it's asking you to acknowledge and accept reality as it is. So see it and make peace with it. And it's asking you to own your part. That's the inconvenient part. No one, least of all high performers, want to be part of the problem. They want to be part of the solution. And so for many, their achievements are their identity. So being at fault when something goes sideways is something they're going to try to avoid with every fiber of them. And so the question tries to prevent that avoidance. But the moment you find your part in it is the moment you have that power or agency to impact the change you're looking for.
Yeah, you asked some really deep questions. What am I feeling and what are my emotions signaling? What is true for me? What might be true for others? Because that can be very different. What is the whole truth, even if it's inconvenient? What do I want from myself and why is that important to me? What impact do I want to make? And number 7, what does it look like to take 100% personal responsibility? No more, no less. It gets you thinking.
Big questions, right? This is
Yeah. And when I mean it gets you, when I mean it gets you thinking, I mean that positively rather than negatively, because it's so easy just to be on the hamster wheel of life and business, and you wake up and it's 10 years later, but have you actually ever made an impact?
Mhm. The questions come from, humans are pattern making machines. And
Yeah.
when you see the same, so we all get stuck somewhat in the same areas. So these 7 questions represent the places that are most likely to keep us stuck or places where we can dig to get unstuck in almost any situation. It's in one of those 7.
So my next question is about how do we use these 7 questions as daily decision tools when we are in the middle of a high pressure, fast moving work day? Is there a fast track way to apply them on the fly?
Mm. I don't know that they're meant to be rushed. However,
Yeah.
every every question is powerful when answered honestly.
Mm.
In combination, they're a powerhouse. But none of it works without the pause. So even, under pressure on the fly, nothing happens until you are willing to hit that pause button. And then you negotiate the questions, I think, based on the time available. Every situation is different. So I believe that if you get really good at answering question number 1, what am I feeling? What are my emotions signaling? That's a great starting point because it can give you direction. So if you're confused or conflicted or undecided, go to question 5. If you're feeling pressure, jump to question 7. If you're overwhelmed or emotionally charged, maybe you go to 2, 3, and 4 because that's where we break our story down. So I think any one of them is going to slow you down in a meaningful way. So pick one, but I would say start with question 1.
Okay. And can you give us any examples of in the work that you've been doing with while helping people in terms of that?
Yeah, so I think practically, I use this a lot in a coaching session. So as a coach, this is running in the background. I am trying to find the answers to all of these questions. And so I'm looking for the block. And, I have a belief that every problem is some form of a thought problem and helping connect to the story, the place where the problem is originating and get to the source. So that's the work I would help people do. And these questions can help you do that without needing to sit down with a coach. Um, but I think if you can watch your mind at work, right, sit down and watch the way you're thinking, the way you talk to yourself, the way you talk to others, that's always the starting point.
Thank you. Um, You mentioned that the exact belief patterns that got us our initial success are often the very things that sabotage us later. Can you give me an example of a strength that eventually mutates into a self sabotaging weakness if we don't look inward?
Mm. I have so many personal examples. It's hard to choose.
Well, give us a few.
My life story is an example of this, but I think it doesn't matter what your strengths are. There's a point of diminishing return on any strength.
Mm,
And for me, it was picking up the slack, doing things without being asked, going above and beyond, doing things with excellence. That became my brand. And
yeah,
all of it brought me attention, the good kind, accolades, praise, promotion for a while, till it
yeah,
didn't. But, I can trace it back. I think we can all probably trace it back to some point in life where those behaviors earned something that was important to us. So when I was a kid, I was the only one my dad would let help with the white wall tires of his truck. So I wait eagerly with the Wesley's bleach white for the invitation to showcase those skills. And my dad didn't show love conventionally. I'd get a nod of approval or maybe a wink for a job well done, and I craved those moments, right? Then one day you wake up and you're alone
yeah,
because nobody can keep pace. They can't do it right. They can't do it fast enough or as good as you can. And then you hit a ceiling that you can't break alone. And then you don't have the relationships to carry you the rest of the way
yeah,
because you've been so self-focused. And
yeah,
you're going to have to get really good at something else quick before, you hit the end of your rapidly fraying rope, as I talk about in the book.
yeah. That's a really good example. Thank you.
Mm.
Um, you write about the tragedy of giving people who matter most what's left of you, rather than the best of you. For listeners who feel that they are currently running on empty by the time they get home, what is your one boundary that they can set today to change that dynamic?
Mm. So good. Yes, that really is the rally cry, Tim. When when you show up to the people you love with what's left, they end up holding something that was never theirs to carry. And by that I mean your emotional state. So my recommendation is that you don't attach your happiness to anything outside of you and you don't outsource that happiness to the people you love. When your emotional state depends on people or circumstances, that by extension, you're asking them to control something they can't control. And so when you're emotionally regulated, nobody around you has to wonder which version of you they're going to get. Nobody should have to manage your mood or question where they stand with you. It should be safe to be around you
Yep.
regardless of what you're carrying. So the
Yeah.
best of you is not just more of your time. It's a version of you that people can count on no matter what's going on underneath.
Yeah. Great answer. Thank you very much. If a listener, so last question, if a listener is standing at their own breaking point right now, feeling busy, exhausted, and yet deeply unsatisfied, what is the very first, smallest conscious choice they should make tomorrow morning?
Well, it's first know that you're not alone. And the smallest move, this might sound repetitive, but it's going to be to not believe everything you think. Just watch your mind at work. That's it. That's where most of our suffering isn't over the situation, it's over the story we tell ourselves about what's going on in our life. And we don't stop to check if it's true. So start there tomorrow morning. And before you react to the first hard thing, just notice the thought. You don't have to fix it. You don't fight it. Just watch it and build from there.
Erica, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your book. Maybe it's me, looking inward to create real change through conscious choices. So, if I wanted to buy a copy of this, where can I get one from?
Maybeitsmebook.com, of course, links to all of the major outlets, but wherever books are sold, Amazon, Barnes& and Noble, all the places. It's by Amplify Publishing as well.
And where can we find out more information about you?
You can learn more about me on LinkedIn. You can find me at erikaalessandrini.com or at aileron.org.
Erica, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your wisdom about your book. It's been excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.